Good afternoon. It's Sunday, June 14th, 2020, and coming to you live from the Lonely Tree Media Studios in beautiful Ellensburg, Washington. It is the Best Lamm Sports Show. I'm your host, David Lamm, and with me, as always, is my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
Good afternoon.
We are live streaming on YouTube every weekend. We're on Twitter at Lamm Sports, on Facebook, the Best Lamm Sports Show, and email lambsports@gmail.com. So, happy Flag Day, first of all, Parker.
Is that today?
It is today. The 14th of June is absolutely Flag Day.
Should I be kneeling all day?
All day. I mean,
All from start to
that's it.
finish.
That's. I wonder if they'll rename it now. Maybe.
Kne-
No, we
Kneel
can't.
kneel day?
We can't. We can't do that. But the first, as always, the first part of our show is brought to you by the Range in Yakima. The Range is Central Washington's premier indoor shooting facility at 34,000 square feet. The Range is an all-inclusive facility offering firearm training, retail firearm sales and supplies, full gunsmithing and repairs, custom builds, and Cerakote services, all under one roof. Open Tuesday through Sunday from 11 to 7. Go see our friends at the Range, 1701 Garrettson Lane in Yakima. Phone number is 509-571-1449. The Range, educate, equip, and empower. So, we got some stuff to talk about today.
Always have stuff to talk about.
We do. We always manage to come up with enough topics, even when there's no sports. But the sports are coming, and that's basically what we're talking about today.
Right.
So PGA Golf going on right now, an actual live tournament with real highlights. It's been exciting. The WNBA returns. MLB is probably headed toward a return, albeit a short season. The NBA is coming back, but is it a done deal for sure? Bundesliga, Korean baseball, NASCAR, and more. We've got our Super Bowl today. The 2000s NFL Championship culminates in the Best Lamm Super Bowl today.
Ooh.
I know, I had to name it. So I
I
thought,
like that.
right? And it's the 2007 New England Patriots against the 2001 St. Louis Rams. But we have to start with our trivia question as we get into this. So the trivia question for the week, are you ready? I don't think you're ready.
Probably not. I wasn't ready for last week's one.
The trivia question is brought to you by Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. The winery at Broken Boulder Vineyard is open from 12 to 6 Wednesday through Monday. Head out there and join them for a relaxing glass on the patio with stunning views of Mount Adams. The downtown tasting room is open Thursday through Sunday from 12 to 6. The Vineyard Tasting Room is at 3827 Fletcher Drive. Downtown address is 210 Oak Street in Hood River. To find out more or order wine, go to stavenstone.com. Email them info@stavenstone.com or call 541-946-3750. That's 541-WINE-750. Stone Wines with Personality. All right, so trivia question this week, and I'm trying to make them hard on purpose. But this one includes your Denver Broncos.
Oh, boy.
So I knew you'd be excited about it because how could you not be? So the question, Steve O'Neill of the New York Jets holds the record for the longest punt in professional football history. He did it against the Denver Broncos at Mile High Stadium on September 21st, 1969. The trivia question is, how many yards was the punt? So
I remember this.
So
I don't remember this. I don't remember this happening, but I've heard about it every time someone rockets a punt into the Mile High air.
Okay.
So
Well,
they always talk about it.
well, I was only one when this happened, so I don't even remember. I have no idea. But
I said I remember it, and then I was like, not really.
it is quite the punt.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what we want to know. How many yards did the punt travel? Think on that for the next 50 minutes or so, and we will talk about it at the end of the show. We'll give you the answer. So, with no further ado, we're going to move on to our news and notes. So right now, PGA Tour is currently in the final round of the Charles Schwab Challenge at the Colonial Country Club in Fort Worth, Texas. The leader after 3 rounds was Xander Schauffele at 13 under. The current leader is Colin Morikawa, who looks to be in a tie right now with Xander Schauffele at 14 under. So they're both tied. Bryson DeChambeau and Daniel Berger are tied for third at 13 under, just one shot back. And so you can watch that final round on CBS Sports. Or on CBS right now. It's in progress. I think they're on 10th or 11th hole, somewhere in that ballpark, the leaders. So you got 7 or 8 more holes to go check out if you really want something to fall asleep to. NASCAR is going on right now too. So NASCAR Cup Series is at Homestead Miami Speedway today for the Dixie Vodka 400. The current race leader, as I see it, and it this like changes all the time, They just started. They started at 12:30 p.m. But Denny Hamlin was your pole. The pole sitter. Joey Logano was second, and Brad Keselowski was third. I haven't gotten an update in terms of who the race leader is right now, but they should be 30 minutes into it, weather pending. Anyway, on Wednesday, under the lights at Martinsville, Martin Truex Jr. won the Blue Emu Maximum Pain Relief 500 for his first win of 2020. Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski, and Joey Logano went 2-3-4 for Team Penske. And by the way, the winner of every race at Martinsville has received a grandfather clock since 1964. And I did not know that. But I see them posing with this grandfather clock, and I was like, what is going on?
Do they strap it to the hood?
You'd think, right?
Take it out.
Victory lap with the grandfather clock. But then I had to research. So apparently, the founder of the track, H. Clay Earls, in 1964, he started this tradition, and he said, and I quote, "I figured if you give something to the driver that their wives would like, then it's going to be in a prominent place in their home." I mean, better
That's
than
a great answer.
Better than a trophy that you just file away on a shelf somewhere. This is a grandfather clock. This is furniture now. I mean, this is something you put out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's not wrong.
That's right.
You can watch the race on Fox. It's going on right now. So we also have Bundesliga still going on. And despite playing without their top two players, FC Bayern Munich defeated Borussia Mönchengladbach 2-1 on Saturday to maintain their 7-point advantage in the Bundesliga standings over Dortmund. Dortmund was also a winner on Saturday, 1-0 over Fortuna Dusseldorf. A win by Bayern over Bremen on Tuesday, or a Dortmund loss to Mainz on Wednesday, would secure Bayern Munich's 8th straight league title and 30th overall since 1932. The Bundesliga matches are on FS1 and FS2. Korean baseball is out there still. The NC Dinos remain 4 games ahead of the rest of the league after going 3-3 this week, a pedestrian 3-3. The LG Twins and Doosan Bears are battling for second place. They'll face off in a 3-game series over Father's Day weekend. Those games are on ESPN very early in the morning Pacific Daylight Time. And let's not forget, the game that's coming on Monday starts at 2:35 Pacific a.m. That's earlier than I can get up. So
we're not
doing that. So the English Premier League is also back. This Wednesday, June the 17th, 2 matches, Aston Villa versus Sheffield United and Manchester City versus Arsenal. And then a full weekend slate Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Father's Day weekend will follow. So that brings us to what I'm hoping is a fantastic discussion of our Super Bowl, the best Lamm Super Bowl. For those who don't know, we had a 2000s tournament, 2000s NFL teams, the best teams from the 2000 decade. And we put them into a NFL-style playoff format. And what we've come down to is the 2007 New England Patriots, the AFC champions, and the 2001 St. Louis Rams are the NFC champions, both of which I protest, by the way. Winners by coin flip last week.
You're allowed to.
They're going to battle it.
You know what?
They're going to battle it out right now to be crowned the best team of the 2000s, or at least in our opinion. So, that being said, and because we only have one game, I'm going to let you tell me why, who wins this game and why, and then I'll tell you why you're wrong. Go ahead.
I think that the New England Patriots are going to win this game. And I think it's going to be on the shoulders of Tom Brady. Who else, right? I think we talked about it last week that we have concerns about the Rams secondary, even though they have a bunch of firepower on offense. So I think that the Patriots are going to exploit that secondary, and I trust the Patriots defense more than I trust the Rams defense. I think it really comes down to the defenses not being up to snuff in this game for one side a little more than the other. That's it.
And that's
it. It's clear. It's clear as day.
It's clear as day. Okay. Well, I feel a coin flip coming because I'm telling you this one. Here's what I feel. This one's going to either be a great shootout or it's going to be a complete dud of a game because you got two teams who can really score. Tom Brady threw 50 touchdown passes that year, by the way, and I feel like I feel like Kurt Warner threw 40 something. So I mean, this is a game where I feel like what's the wild card? What is it that's going to set one team apart from the other? And I honestly think it has to be Marshall Faulk. Yes, the Patriots have Kevin Faulk, but that's not the same.
Close.
That is not the same as Marshall Falk. Marshall Falk has it all. He can catch passes. He can run. He scores touchdowns. He is a versatile back, and you have to focus on slowing him down, or he'll beat you. So that alone, I think that the Rams come into this knowing that that the Patriots don't have a true run game, that they can focus on shutting down the passing attack. Um, I don't know I don't know how well they'll do it, but I kind of felt like this was going to be one of those shootout games where the first half is feeling each other out. You don't know what's happening, and then the second half, everyone starts scoring. So I kind of had this one as a 41-35 Rams win in the second half, basically with teams just exchanging touchdowns. So
That'd be an exciting game to watch.
it would be, and that's what I was hoping for, was that it'd be exciting, because Lord knows the dud part where it ends up being 7-3 would not be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Gosh, I hate that this is going to come down to a coin flip, because number one,
I love
haven't
it.
won one.
It's consistent with the series.
Okay, so who gets to call the coin flip, I guess, is the question.
Well, you've lost them all, so I'll let you call it.
Okay. I don't know how well this is going to go down, but we're gonna try this. So, all right, here we go. Let's hit the coin flip. Brought to you by Google. Just type in coin flip on your Google search, and this will come up. And I've hit it, and it's in the air, and it's heads. Nope, it's tails.
Did you call it?
Yeah, it's tails. I called heads, and it's tails.
Wait, I got it?
Yeah, again.
I won this whole entire series
On a
on
coin
coin
flip.
flips.
Oh, this is terrible.
Well, considering we never saw these teams play each other, it's probably about as accurate as anything else.
It is probably. You're right. There's no good way to compare them. I mean, you can compare the defenses, but they aren't playing the same teams. You know what I mean? They're the 2007 version of the teams versus the 2001 version of the same teams. They're different. So there's really no good way to compare them.
Wait, you called tails?
I called heads, and it was tails.
See, all right. So earlier before the show, I pulled up the coin flip thing, and I was sitting there and messing with it, and I got 9 out of 10. I wasn't calling them; it was just doing it. I got 9 out of 10 were heads. So
Yeah.
the fact that you called heads and still didn't get it is insane.
I went, yeah, and that influenced my decision. So I'm going to put an asterisk next to this championship.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which we would have done anyway, I think, because again, you really
Anytime there's a coin flip, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have to come up with another one. Although we're going to start getting into some sports here shortly, and we're going to have a lot to talk about. So maybe we won't have time.
Yeah, we're gonna lose these things eventually.
We have to put that in our back pocket for later, because we haven't done a baseball one.
Oh,
we did
have
basketball,
not.
we did football, so maybe we'll do a baseball one next. But
Tennis is up on deck.
a tennis tournament,
Tournament, yep.
we'll just put 104 players in and start figuring out who wins. That, you know what?
That's a big tournament.
I can only probably name you 10 or 12 players. So I mean, I feel like that won't be as accurate.
I feel like I could name like 20 tennis players.
You think so?
I think I could name 20.
20? You think you can name?
That
seems like a lot.
I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it because that's gonna take a lot of thinking on air. But yeah, I think I could probably name 20. I've watched enough. I've seen some stuff, and I know a bunch of them who play for colleges.
I've seen some.
That
stuff.
counts, man.
Yeah, truly. All right, so so the first part of our show went down easy because it always does. And the next part, we're going to talk about a lot of things. We got some things to actually discuss. The second part of our show is brought to you by Boss Kitty. Boss Kitty Hand-Dyed Yarns is our sponsor for the second half of the show, and you can go to BossKittyShop.com for your yarns, notions, and Boss Kitty merchandise. You can pick up a BossKittyShop.com gift card. As a special treat for our listeners, they're offering a one-time use coupon for 15% off your next purchase. You just use the coupon code LAMMSPORTS at checkout, all one word, LAMMSPORTS, and you get 15% off your next purchase, one-time use coupon. That's BossKittyShop.com. Boss Kitty, yarn so boss, you'll knit your pants. So that'll bring us to the second half of the show. We got a lot of things that we want to talk about. There are things reopening and restarting, and the very first one I want to talk about is the WNBA. The WNBA has submitted a proposal to its players for the 2020 season that will include 100% of their salaries. The players will vote on the offer over the next 2 days. If there's an agreement, the formal announcement could come as early as tomorrow. Players have already received 2 paychecks, or about 18% of their 2020 pay. The league has proposed a 22-game regular season starting July 24th, and they're reportedly going to play at the IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. The playoffs would be standard length, single elimination, first and second round games, then 5-game series for the semifinals and the WNBA finals, and the playoffs would end sometime in October. So I love the fact that they're coming back.
Oh, I like any sports coming back right about now.
I like that we're going to get to see Sabrina play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
INS.
Yeah, we'll get to see if she's WNBA caliber. She's worthy of that number 1 pick that she got. And I think she is, but we're going to, got to wait to find out. That's a big jump. Anybody jumps from college to pros, and when you're the number 1 pick, there's so much expectation. I think it's a big deal. So I'm looking forward to them coming back, and they paid them. The agreement that they're voting on is 100% of their pay.
Oh, and childcare amenities.
Right. I mean, they're getting all kinds of stuff, and they've already been paid and haven't played anything. They've already been paid 2 paychecks and haven't played a thing, which brings me to Major League Baseball. So as good as that sounds for the WNBA, Major League Baseball is just the opposite. So Major League Baseball, the Players Association, and the owners are still at an impasse as the Players Association rejected the latest proposal from Major League Baseball. MLBPA Executive Director Tony Clark said yesterday in a statement, quote, "It unfortunately appears that further dialogue with the league would be futile. It's time to get back to work. Tell us when and where." So they've been arguing about money. They've been arguing about how much pay, because there was an agreement apparently in March. The Players Association says there was an agreement that they would get paid 100% of their prorated salary when they start playing the games. But the owners are saying, no, that's not true. We never agreed on that. It has become quite contentious, quite hot. It's a big issue. And so Tim Kirkjian, ESPN baseball analyst, was on SportsCenter this morning, and he was talking to Hannah Storm, and he had this to say about the negotiations.
Right. It's a mess, Hannah. It's a real mess. There is so much anger and distrust between the two sides. So they couldn't reach an agreement. And now Major League Baseball is going to implement a season. And maybe the union will file a grievance. And Major League Baseball might file a grievance. And this is going to end up as certainly the strangest season that anyone can ever remember.
Strangest season that anyone can ever remember. I think we can agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So the players are stuck on that 100% prorated pay, and the owners say that that was never the agreement, and that they want the players to take less than full pay if and when they resume. So the question I have is, how can the WNBA pay 100% of the salary and say, oh, we'll pay you all, and we've already paid you, and you haven't even played, but these guys can't agree to anything? I mean...
Yeah, who would have thought that the WNBA would be the model example of how to treat and pay your employees?
It's really bad for baseball, because there's going to be more negotiations after this season happens, and what is out there right now, what is coming is that Commissioner Rob Manfred, he has the ability, a quote unquote nuclear option, I don't know how you want to call it, to say we are going to have a season and it's going to be this many games. Now, the common perception is it'll be 48 games, which is less than a third of a regular season, and then they would have playoffs. The problem with that is that would be at 100% pay, because that's what's in that option. But the players would have the right at some point to file a grievance. The owners can file a grievance, just like Tim Kirkjian was reporting there. Any of that could happen. And they may not play. They may just say, we don't want to play. And that bleeds into 2021. And will they have baseball? And would they be able to agree on things for next year even? Because there's more negotiations that have to be done before they can even start next year.
Baseball has absolutely whiffed on this whole thing. It was struggling. It was having trouble maintaining viewership and gaining fans and things like that. And then this blessing of a thing happened called coronavirus that would have left them being the only sport on television. and all people would be watching was that, and people could get re-engaged and reinvested in baseball. But money ruined it, and they couldn't decide, and they couldn't get it figured out, and they couldn't come to an agreement. And now it's going to end up being basketball. Basketball is going to be the one that prevails from this, at least in American sports. Basketball is going to be the one that prevails from it more. They're going to get all the attention. They're going to have the focus, because right now nobody believes in baseball. I don't think there's going to be a season, and I actually, at this point, I'm starting to care less and less there is.
Yeah, I think the winners in all this could be Major League Soccer. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes too. But they're
European soccer.
Yeah, but the MLS is returning before any of the other major sports in America.
Korean baseball is killing it.
Outside of golf. Yeah, and Korean baseball. I mean, they're doing it. I mean, they were playing empty stadiums and, precautions and all that. And I don't know why Major League Baseball couldn't do it. It's all about money, and I think that has soured a lot of people. You're going to
I mean, at the end of the day, you start to go, man, you're for let's say you're an outfielder, right? I mean, you're usually a hitter. That's usually kind of your end game. But baseball games are so boring for fans. I can guarantee that they're pretty boring for some of the players too. And now you're complaining about how you're not going to get your 400,000 in at bat. Like, come on, man, go hit the ball. This is not a shut up and dribble type comment, but I need you to take a concession. Understand that times are different here. Go play some baseball for the good of the sport and the fans, and stop worrying about yourself.
Yeah, so I think this problem got out of hand long before this ever happened, and this is just kind of culminating now. It's coming to a head. But
yeah,
the example I'm going to give you is that Mike Trout is set to make $37.1 million a year until 2030. Yeah, he makes $37 million a year until 2030. If they played a third of the season right now, let's assume they could agree on 54 games and play a 54-game schedule. That'd be 1/3 of the season. He would still get over $12 million. Just play 54 games and walk away. I'm like, I think that they've been overpaying these players for so long that the salaries get so big. His contract.
How much was it? 30 what million
30,
this year?
He's gonna make this year. He's gonna make 30. I want to say it's 36 something. But from next year on, he makes 37.1.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, and it's guaranteed through 2030. It's 10 years. I'm thinking to myself, he's got 10 more years on a contract. You don't even know if he'll be good in 6 years. 5 years.
Last 2 years, he's had 470 at bats and 471 at bats. That pulls that out for a grand total of $76,595 per at bat at $36 million a year.
I would play for half that.
And that's for participating in a game from April to October. You get November, and that's provided you make the playoffs. So you get November, December, January, February, March off. You get 5 months off a year, and you still make $76,000 in at bat. Come on, can you take $10,000 in at bat and just be good for a little bit?
And especially if you're only gonna, this year you could just have played for a little bit. You know what I mean? And part of the you just take a fraction of that. Now, not every player is getting that. We're using an extreme example of an MVP, but he's one of those guys. Like A-Rod. When A-Rod signed the first $250 million contract back in the day, and at $25 million a year, and you were like, that's a lot of money. Well, this guy's signing a 12-year contract for $37 million a year. I don't even know. I don't even know what to say about it. But why don't you guys just play baseball for this rest of this year? Why don't you give your money to a charity and just play baseball for the rest of the year? And then next year,
it's too much for some
over.
people, man.
I know. Yeah. And some of them are going to need the money. Some players will need the money. You if you haven't been in the league very long, I feel sorry for. They just had their baseball draft. I feel sorry for those rookies that are coming in. That
they have to walk into this mess.
Yeah, they're walking right in, and they have nothing to do with it. So,
and they don't know if they're going to get paid. They don't know who's going to take them. Where am I playing? Like everything's so on hold. And I think you're right that this is from a bigger issue from years and years of discontent from one side to the other. I think that the first thing that needs to happen is that Manfred needs to go. I think they need to find somebody else. That guy has not been doing any favors for baseball for a while. And I think beyond that, you got all these young guys who are like, well, what if there is no more baseball? What if they can't get together this season, can't figure it out? This season gets canceled. And then next season, they're still bickering about it. What if there's no baseball anymore? Like
Right.
that's a real threat. These guys are like, damn, we should have played college football for 4 years.
I mean,
Screwed up big
I
time.
picked the wrong sport. Really not. I mean, baseball. Let's be honest. Baseball of all the sports, baseball is the one sport where you have probably the least risk of serious injury because there's
Like collision based injury, yeah.
collision-based injury. You're going to have repetitive use injuries in baseball,
Right.
like you don't in the
Absolutely.
other sports. But you're not going to have collision-based. You know, there's a lot less contact. Yeah, there might be a collision at home plate. Yeah, there might be a slide thing at second. Who knows? But or diving for a ball. But it's relatively low risk in terms of physical harm to your body. The harm comes
Yeah.
in throwing 300 innings in a year. That becomes 300.
Pitchers are way more at risk.
Yeah, when you throw 300 innings worth of fastballs, that becomes really hard on your shoulder. By the way, so yeah,
Yeah.
but the amount of money you get paid for taking less risk, if you will, than a NFL running back or a wide receiver. Wide receiver, every play, he's got a chance that someone's going to just crush him. Right? He goes up for a pass.
Very true.
Yeah, and so
Those guys on the special teams in the NFL, only like the special teamers, they usually don't make very much because they're trying to make their way in the league and they have the worst, like the most dangerous job.
yeah, yeah. I don't know what to do with MLB. I love baseball, I do, but I just can't get behind either side and say you guys are right because why doesn't one of you just give in and say let's play baseball, and get a product out there? You had a chance. They literally had a chance weeks ago to be the first product back, to have the
Yeah.
spotlight
It was
on
going to be a big
themselves.
deal.
Yeah. You would have had the spotlight. All the TV would have been on you. Everything would have been, everybody would have forgot about Korean baseball in a heartbeat. I wouldn't even be giving you Korean baseball scores and standings had MLB come back, right? But now
Yeah.
I feel like we're never going to get to regular baseball, and I'm only going to give you Korean baseball. And you know what? I'm okay with that. So at this point, so to heck with all of them at this point.
Oh, yeah.
So that leads us to what else is happening. What else is coming back? So Major League Soccer has decided they are coming back. They've got a plan to start on July 8th, and that's sooner than anybody else, with the MLS's Back tournament at the ESPN Wide World of Sports complex at Walt Disney World Resort. So it's it's a World Cup style tournament with group and knockout stages of 54 matches featuring all 26 MLS teams. It's a fantastic way to come back. I think it's going to make for a brilliant event, even though they're having it at the same place as the NBA. So I don't know how much overlap. That bubble just got bigger, right?
A little bit.
Yeah. So you have a lot more people in and around the same place. You're going to have MLS and NBA, but they're going to be done with it by, I think it's August the 11th. So they'll be done and out of the bubble by the time the NBA even probably starts getting into it, really. But long story short, they're coming back. The commissioner, Don Garber, he made a couple of comments on a video chat with some reporters. Here's what he had to say about after the tournament, what was going to happen in their return to normalcy.
We're beginning to see things open up, and I'm confident that at some point, and I don't know exactly when, we'll be able to get back to playing games in our stadiums and do it at a time we'll have enough games to be able to continue and then ultimately conclude the MLS 2020 season with playoffs and then MLS Cup, towards the latter part of the year.
So he's pretty confident that they're going to go right back to playing in the regular stadiums and that eventually there'll be fans.
Sounds
We call
nice.
them
I
small
like it.
businesses.
I like that he's that confident about it. I wish that all of the other commissioners of their sports were that confident about stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's great. I think it's going to be fun to watch. I do like watching soccer. MLS soccer has a long ways to go, in my opinion, in terms of catch up with the rest of the world. Their soccer style is a little bit hectic, let's just say. If you watch soccer and you know what I'm talking about, MLS soccer is a speed-based game because, heck, at first, even when MLS first came out, they had a countdown clock. It was 45 minutes, and it counted down. That is not the way soccer is played, but that's the way the United States is used to things. So that's the way they introduced it to people was, oh, well, the half ends when it reaches zero because that's what everyone is used to. Well, that's not the way European soccer is played. You play up to 45 minutes and then an extra because there's injuries and timeouts and things that happen. So there's stoppage time. But MLS has a different product. It doesn't have quite the stars that it doesn't have the money, so it doesn't bring in quite the stars that European soccer does. But it is going to be interesting to watch all these teams come back. They only played 2 games. They played 2 weeks worth before they canceled the season. Or suspended, I guess we should say. Canceling is probably not the right term. But the MLS is Back tournament is going to be a unique thing. You can watch most of it on ESPN. We'll have a lot of the games and some partner networks. I am looking forward to watching the tournament itself because they've already drawn the teams for this tournament, and
Yeah.
in the draw, the bracket draw is important. So if you look at it, you got the Portland Timbers, who actually got drawn into a group with Houston, the LA Galaxy, and LAFC, the LA Football Club. So the LA Football Club has the reigning MLS MVP in Carlos Vela, and it's going to be a difficult group just to come out of. Portland will be the 3rd seed, I guess, if you will, out of those 4 teams, and probably not expected to advance out of that group.
Yeah, they've been kind of struggling. Last year they had some issues. The year before they were a couple years ago they made it to a title game, but almost by default, and then they just got blown out by Atlanta. So yeah, I wouldn't expect them to make too much noise in that group.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult road for them for sure. So they are in Group F in the Western Conference, Group F. The other teams that are out there that are, Seattle, they're in Group B. Seattle has an actually much better draw with FC Dallas, the Vancouver Whitecaps, San Jose Earthquakes. That's in Group B. That's another Western Conference. And the other Western Conference group is Group D. That's Real Salt Lake, Sporting Kansas City, Colorado Rapids, and the Minnesota United. It's going to be interesting to watch these games just because I like the way this sets up. I like the idea of it being like a World Cup. You play all the other teams in your group, and then the winners of the group move forward, and it's a knockout stage. It is more exciting to watch a one-and-done kind of tournament than the way most soccer does a tournament where it's 2 games. You play a home and home, and then it's, if you win both games or the winner on aggregate goals or the winner away goals, it's stupid, to be honest with you. You could tie both games and then you just end up playing extra time on one game to decide who wins. This is much a knockout. One game, there's a winner, there's a loser, and away we go. So I like it.
Yeah,
it'll be fun.
I like it. Yeah, I'm a fan of it. Yeah,
it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And then so other things that are happening. Let's talk about the NBA for a minute.
Yeah.
So there was they're coming back, but there are calls for the players to boycott the proposed restart. Kyrie Irving was on a Zoom call with more than about 80 NBA players, some of which were hesitant to restart the season. But Irving said he doesn't like the optics of many black players in the NBA going to a quarantined city to entertain the masses, taking the spotlight off the Black Lives Matter movement and much-needed police and social reforms.
Right. Dwight Howard has voiced a similar concern about he doesn't want this to distract from the movement.
Right, and so the counter to that was that other players are saying, well, this gives us a stage, gives us a platform to help the movement, basically, and also puts money in our pockets that we can donate to those causes and help make things better and help reform. I'm on that side. I believe that is probably true. It's a unique stage that the NBA has in that it has a very broad audience. I think it's a broader audience, diversity wise, more than the NFL. Just my personal opinion. I don't have any.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't have any stats to back that up, but in my personal opinion, I think you're getting a much bigger audience, a more diverse audience that watches NBA games, and I think that if you use that platform and use it well, it can help a lot more than not playing, just boycotting a season and saying we're not going to play. I'm not sure that advances your cause as well.
not in the way that I think that he wants. I mean, the fact of the matter is, the three players that they're kind of pointing that have voiced concerns are Kyrie Irving, who's not really a playoff contender, and he's might not play. He was hurt. So I don't know how much his opinion matters. Dwight Howard, who is on a playoff contending team, and then the third one was Donovan Mitchell, that they said had concerns about it, but his concerns were more health related. But beyond that, Kyrie Irving also said on the call, if it's worth the risk, then let's go and do it. He said, but if you're not with it, it's okay too. We've got options for both ways. Let's just come to a middle ground as a family. It sounds like he said a bunch of, not going to say conflicting things, but he's like, we shouldn't do this. Hey, but if you want to do it, though, it's okay. And it's like, that doesn't, like, if it doesn't sound like he's making a point. It just sounds like he's trying to put the options out there for everybody. And maybe this is a little bit of media grabbing it and kind of running with it, saying, oh, Kyrie doesn't want to play. Kyrie doesn't want to. Because he clearly said this other stuff about, hey, if you think it's worth the risk, then go ahead. But I don't think he thinks it's worth the risk, both to his health and to their social reform that they're fighting for. So, but LeBron James is, reportedly, no one's got a quote, no one's heard him say it in any sort of recorded way, but reportedly he said that he's not concerned with it, and he thinks that it'll be a positive thing to have basketball back, at least for the social change.
I will say this. I think it's going to be much helpful to have that stage, to have that platform, to be out there. I think that Kyrie, I'm confused by his statement to begin with, because he wasn't coming back anyway. His injuries were such that I think he wasn't going to play anyway, and his teammate Kevin Durant is out for the season. So I think this comes from a place of, we weren't going to be able to do anything anyway. So I wasn't going to get to play. It almost feels selfish. It almost feels like it's one of those sour grapes. I can't play. I don't want you guys to play either. That's what it sounds like. It may not be, but that's what it sounds like.
But then again, that's also could be what it's being made to sound like.
Sure.
Because not a lot of people were on this call. There's a lot of reports and things like that of what was allegedly said. So until we can get that transcript, official transcript of the call, maybe that's what we need, is to actually have the transcript.
Yeah, I wasn't on the call. I'll admit that. They were
an hour and 40 minutes though. It was a long call.
It is a long call. There's a lot to discuss there, and I understand the protesting part of it. If that was what you're saying, is that from a protest standpoint, we make a bigger statement if we just say we're not playing because of this. I could see where you'd say that, but that is a quick statement that is going to end up with all kinds of people blaming you for not having sports, right?
But the NBA hasn't had a problem with. Well, let me rephrase that. Every place has had a problem with racism in some form or another. If it's not your Steve Ballmers, then it's your Utah Jazz fans. You know what I mean? Like, it's not always an owner or the leadership or the group, but the NBA itself hasn't seemed to have, like, as a league and as a group of people, a leadership group hasn't seemed to have that many issues. So you typically hold out when you're trying to send a message to your leadership. Right. I don't really think there are those problems. I think that the NBA has been extremely willing to help and accommodate. I think the NBA understands, who plays for them and who their fans are and where the future is for basketball and what you need to do. And then also I think that, I love Adam Silver. I think Adam Silver is one of the most heads up commissioners of any sport ever. He's absolutely progressive thinking. And so I don't think that sitting out is going to send the message that you want. It's going to make you seem ungrateful to the sport that has done nothing but try to help you. At least as far as Adam Silver goes. David Stern was his own set of issues back in the day. But I think that you're better served to come there. Wear the pregame shirts, that say I can't breathe on them, and then auction them off for charities. Have, a thing at the beginning where you talk to, send messages to because nobody's going to be there watching the game, but it's going to be televised. Have a message at the beginning of every game. Have a message at the end of every game. Put on some sort of little segment in between the games that, kind of helps explain or educates or does whatever you're trying to get them to do. I think that's more your goal than just not playing. At least that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, and it's interesting you brought up David Stern. think David Stern was more of a bury your head in the sand and hope everything goes away kind of commissioner.
Absolutely.
Let's keep going with what we do and let's just ignore all those things that may be bad and let's not talk about it and we'll keep our product as is because he presided over them during a time when it was a big deal. The NBA became a gigantic deal. But it wasn't necessarily him that did that. So it was the NBA developing and the players and the way the newer players that came in while he was there. I feel like Adam Silver's a much, I don't want to say smarter. Maybe that's the word, smarter.
I think it is. I mean, David Stern was a more traditionally business focused guy, and Adam Silver seems to be more progressively focused.
Yeah, he thinks about this before he does it. So I think that if anything's gonna, we'll know more when they start broadcasting games, and we'll know. Hopefully, he'll come out with a statement, and they'll do something at the beginning before they even play their first game, and have some sort of statement as a league or as a whole come out in a joint kind of, here's where we are, here's where we stand, blah blah blah. That would be great. Yeah. That's what they really need to do. And Kyrie can have his opinion, and if he doesn't want to play, he doesn't have to play. And if he's hurt, he's not going to play anyway. So it doesn't really matter. I think that people in America would love to see the NBA come back and play something. It doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter how many games it is. Just something.
Yeah.
Just to have it out there. So
yeah, it's a tough one. I don't think there's a good way to win this one, but I think that getting a platform to send your message that is, 10 million people per game, that's the kind of change. That's the kind of reach that you want to have.
Yeah, and the other quote that came from this from Kyrie. So just the second half of this says, "I don't support going into Orlando. I'm not with the systematic racism and BS. Something smells a little fishy." So I'm not 100% certain what he's talking about.
Dude, he's a flat earther. Like we shouldn't be taking leadership advice from a flat earther.
Is he really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Do you not remember this? All right. So if you ever get a chance, anybody who's listening and you, go on to Nike's website and look up Kyrie Irving's shoes. He believes in like the Illuminati and all that stuff, and his shoes have like designs on them for it. And then look up his flat Earth theories. He's been on record numerous times saying he doesn't believe the Earth is round. He doesn't believe this. He doesn't believe the science is there.
But I'm a firm believer in the Illuminati. That was a thing, but not necessarily flat Earth. So let's,
Oh, he means more to the effect that there's a group of people running the entire country from behind the scenes, that type of thing.
Still doing it now, you mean?
Big fan of www.blackhelicopters.com.
Yeah, there's, conspiracy theories abound for sure. Let's.
I can't believe I brought DL Gribble into this.
That is, and I'm sure he's appreciative of that. So let's just say that I wanted to give you a little update. The Dixie Vodka 400 that's at Homestead Miami Speedway had lightning before they even really got going, so it delayed the start of the race. And as far as I know right now, they're just now being loaded into their cars at 4:34 p.m. So they haven't even started. So that's about to get underway, but beware, there'll probably be more delays for lightning or rain. Well, they don't really like rain either because it's not good for auto racing. Anyway, that being said, the PGA Tour still is going on. The final rounds of the Charles Schwab Challenge. Bryson DeChambeau and Xander Schauffele, both at 15 under, are your co-leaders. Just have a one-shot lead over two other guys, and it's tight. The leaderboard is tight at the top. So that's on CBS if you want to watch it. Last thing we're going to talk about today that needs to be talked about is we're going to go back to NASCAR for just a minute. And NASCAR this week released a statement. And the statement is as follows. The presence of the Confederate flag at NASCAR events runs contrary to our commitment to providing a welcoming and inclusive environment for all fans, our competitors, and our industry. Bringing people together around a love for racing and the community that it creates is what makes our fans and sport special. The display of the Confederate flag will be prohibited from all NASCAR events and properties. That's a gigantic statement. Is it not?
Yeah, I know. It's It's the biggest thing NASCAR has ever said that's contrary to all of their fans' beliefs.
Well, I don't know about all of their fans, but I mean,
We'll say a good 80%. I feel like NASCAR's fan base is pretty monochromatic. It's one type of person, one type of fan for the most part. It's huge. It's massive. They're taking a stand against. They run races in these places where, oh my gosh, I sound like Dr. Seuss. They run races in these places where this sort of stuff is expected. Confederate flags are an expectation on a daily basis. I don't know how they expect to enforce this, but I am excited that they're going to try, and I'm excited to see however many people burn their Talladega tickets, throw them in a fire, that sort of thing. It's really interesting.
They talked about this before, and actually looked at it a couple years ago, actually, where they were talking about this exact thing and getting rid of the Confederate flag and what a lot of people feel it stands for, which is hatred and racism. That's not everybody. Not everybody has that same opinion of the Confederate flag. Some of those people are of the belief that this is their heritage. This is where their great grandfather, served in the Confederate Army and blah blah blah. And I get that. I understand what you're saying, but I think I think that was such a divisive time in history, just in general. We were split in half. You're splitting the country in half based on slavery. And yes, those people in the Confederate States, I know exactly what you're going to say. Oh, it's about states' rights. Yeah, it was about the states' right to have slaves. You didn't want the federal government to tell you couldn't do it. You wanted to have each state to have their own set of laws, which I understand about states' rights, but that topic is bigger than, oh, we should just let Georgia continue to have slaves. That's not what was in any way, shape, or form was a good thing. The fact that the federal government said this is wrong, we're going to end it, was the right way to go. And then you have the Confederate states that just decided, oh, well, we're just going to not be part of the United States anymore, and just basically divided the country in half. And that the massive Civil War, the loss of life, all of that was because you were fighting over slavery. So,
and the enforcement of anti-slavery,
right. And that's a battle flag. Let's that flag right there that you're looking at, that is a battle flag. That's something
stars and bars.
They took it right into battle, and there is a different Confederate States of America flag that looks more like a regular flag. But this one was definitely used in battle, and it's been used in a lot of the state flags in the South. They've been getting rid of it. Let's see, I don't want to get it wrong, but I tend to think that Mississippi had it on their flag for a while, and North Carolina, I think, had one on theirs for a while. Anyway, they got rid of them. All these states have gotten rid of that, and they've taken them out of prominent places and in state buildings and whatnot. And I think that's the right thing. That is absolutely the right thing. I think that should have been done a long time ago. That part of our history, while we should remember it, we shouldn't embrace it necessarily, because it's not a great look on the United States. Oh, you're split in half over over this. We should never have been split in half over that. That's why all this is happening now, because forever we've been split in half for 170 years, basically. That's just my take. That's my personal feeling on it. But so you also had in the immediate aftermath was NASCAR Truck Series driver Ray Ciccarelli, who said, and I quote in a Facebook post, well, it's been a fun ride and dream come true, but if this is the direction NASCAR is headed, we will not participate after the 2020 season is over.
Good.
And then he went on to say that, well, all the backlash you got, well, you misconstrued my meaning. And what I meant was that people should be allowed to fly whatever flag they want. And so he tried to become inclusive afterwards. He did race this week, by the way, in the NASCAR Truck Series race.
Did he win?
No, he hasn't won a race in. I don't know if he's ever won one.
He's that guy.
I was looking at his statistics. They're not good. But he, yeah. So is he going to be the first of many? Are there going to be other drivers? Do you think that any of the drivers on the Cup Series tour, the bigger name drivers, I don't I haven't heard any backlash from any of them. I can't find anything where they either they're silent or they've come out in support.
Yeah, it seems that right now, well, I've always kind of been of the belief that these people, I'm going to say it's going to sound weird, but weren't really about that life. They weren't really rednecks. They just wanted to appeal to rednecks. You know what I mean? Like they weren't really from this, they weren't really super Southern oriented. They just wanted to appeal because that's where it is a show. It is a whole thing. That is where your clients are. That's where your fans are. So that's who you have to impress. So you do the things that are necessary to make those people like you. You act the way you have to act. Right now, though, I don't think you win. I don't think you can win. Like to back that horse, I mean, obviously we saw with this one guy. He backed. His fan base is probably deep rooted in the Confederate flag fandom, and he backed put out his opinion, said, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to be part of this anymore if this is the way it's going to be. And it still didn't go over well for him.
Yeah.
I don't think you can be a bigger person than him and not get even more backlash. So I think right now, it's best to just be quiet or show support. And honestly, I think that showing support, the problem is you can't make an argument against human rights, which is what you'd have to be doing.
Right.
And that's tough.
Right. The only, and this is going to sound wrong, I'm sure, but the only way I can hear what he's saying when he literally says, I feel like anybody should be able to fly whatever flag they want. Well, isn't that what everybody wants in general? You're right, but that's not what you said to begin with. What you said was, if this is the way we're going, I'm out. But I feel like you're right. Anybody should be able to fly whatever flag they want. But if your flag is going to be super offensive to someone else, then then that you can't do that. I mean, we I don't know. That one flag.
You can fly an American flag and nobody's going to care.
Right. That one flag has so much symbolism that other flags don't carry with them. That, you know what I mean? You can fly any other flag you want. You can fly a Black Lives Matter flag. And that'll be totally acceptable. Who's it going to offend? Right?
Well, anybody who doesn't support Black Lives.
Right. But that's who they're trying to direct all this at anyway. So I feel like it's fine. So yeah, the quick update on the NASCAR Dixie Vodka 400. They're on lap number 3 of 267, and there's already a caution. So anyway, that one's going along.
Is Dixie Vodka a company?
Dixie Vodka is an actual company. I looked them up, and so I was a little concerned that all this happened, and then on Sunday they're racing in the Dixie Vodka 400, and I thought, right, because the term Dixie kind of brings you into that Confederate flag view. But if you go to their website, and I suggest everyone do that. Go to the Dixie Vodka website, and you'll see a gigantic statement by their founders and their company saying that that what NASCAR has done is the right thing, and they're all about being inclusive, and when they refer to Dixie, it's just about being in the South, not necessarily a Confederate South. So, but you should read the statement. It is really it's well thought out and well written out, and I think they had to, otherwise people. You know, I mean, the very first race is at the Dixie Vodka 400. Really?
Oh gosh!
Yeah.
The only thing that would have made it worse if it was Dixie whiskey.
Yeah.
Then you'd have been like, no way, not allowing it.
Yeah, anyway. I think we're all in agreement. I think so here's the other question though. Is this pressure that was put on them to do it, you think? Or was it just maybe this is the right time and the right events came up and now we have a really good justification? And not that you didn't before. I mean, I think you did before. At any point in time, you could have gotten rid of that flag and said it's not allowed at our events. Do you think that this is just so much social pressure built on them right now? They only have one black driver on the Cup Series right now. There are others in the lower levels, but there is only one in the Cup Series. And I feel like it's not him that's pushing the change. It's the social environment that's pushing the change. And
absolutely.
And I'm all for it. But I feel like every league is going to have to do something like this, and I think every league is feeling that pressure to do something, to react. Every sports league, every event, and even the PGA Tour, they took they had a moment of silence.
Well, it's actually kind of a win-win because you have to, like, if you don't fall into the social pressure right now, you're going to be chastised. But maybe if you're NASCAR, you've always wanted to be a little more respectful or whatever. Maybe you've wanted this change for a while, but you didn't know how to piss off your fan base.
So how do you?
And now it's like, oh, well, we got this thing going on in the country. I can use that. That'll piss them off, but we get the change we wanted.
So,
but they can blame those people.
Are they sacrificing current fans for a potential future audience? Do you think?
That's the hope. Oh, absolutely, man. I don't know how many. Well, being fair, all the NFL fans who burned their season tickets a couple years ago in Cap Neo, they were still at games last year. So I don't know. It's a short-lived burst of upset, and then you're right back to it.
Right.
Remember all those people who wouldn't shop at Dick's Sporting Goods because they stopped selling ARs?
Yeah.
They're shopping at Dick's Sporting Goods again. Who the freaking thong? And it's because it's because your anger at rolling into social pressure is short-lived. And then it'll be the same thing here. But yes, this is a decision that will gain fans more than it will lose fans.
So what do you think what do you think they can do to capture a different level of audience? I mean, the TV viewing public that's out there right now, the main viewers, the younger generation, the 20 to 30 something year olds, aren't necessarily grown up on NASCAR unless you live in the South. How do you capture an audience that didn't grow up with you, isn't used to watching you? What can they do to get more viewers?
Starters to get some of the races out of the South.
Yeah.
Why do we not have races in California? Or, I mean, I get you get places that are rainy and things like that. Those are a little harder to kind of navigate, but let's have races in Idaho. Let's have races in Washington and California and Oregon and Nevada and things like that. Why do they all have to be from Virginia down? Like, let's get them out. Let's get them out here, and that's a start.
Well, number one is that's where all the tracks are.
We'll build more tracks. It's just a giant circle of concrete. My goodness.
It's a gigantic undertaking.
Throw up a couple metal bleachers that I mean, have you seen these tracks? Some of them look like they're high school football stadiums that just happen to have a circular concrete track. Like they're crap metal bleachers on them.
Yeah.
Like, just throw that up in the middle of anywhere. I mean, and if NASCAR wants those fans, make that investment. Build those stadiums.
Right. I think you're right, though. I mean, they could even do road courses. They used to have a number of them. They don't hardly do them anymore, and I don't know why they swapped away. But they could do road races, shut off a section of road that goes through a town or wherever, a city, and have that kind of race. That's a good answer. I think they need to get young people pulled in somehow. I don't know how they do that, but I think advertising, their advertising needs to be focused towards getting young people, young hipster or young millennial, to watch it somehow. I don't know what that answer is. I think they got to hire the right advertising company to get that done. Anyway, your suggestion, though, we talked yesterday, and I think your suggestion of putting ramps in, jumps. We
were talking about how to engage people,
right? And
it was like, yeah, let's throw in some ramps,
jumps on the course. There's a jump. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. It would completely change the entire way they do NASCAR, because those cars that they currently race would not be able to handle a jump. But I think it would be more exciting. It definitely would be pretty awesome. Make it more like a cross country event. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it'd be kind of fun.
I think they ought to have some sort of hybrid four-wheel drive part to it, where they have to drive through something, in a field or, mudding or dirt track part of it, and then back onto the street, and then, you know what I mean? That would be more exciting, because you'd see a lot more interesting things happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's really all we have to talk about. What we need to do, though, we need to circle back on our trivia question, because I asked the question at the beginning of the show. The trivia question is brought to you by Stave & Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. So the trivia question was, do you remember what it was?
Steve O'Neill, how far was his longest punt ever?
How far is the longest punt in professional football history? That was the question. Do you have an answer? Do you know the answer?
I have a guess. I don't know it, but I'm pretty sure I'm really close. So they used to talk about, like I said, anytime that Cole quit, the kicker for the Chiefs, because he was the punter for the Chiefs, he was really good. He would come out there and they could send him way into the air. They would always talk about it. Anytime somebody makes a long kick in Denver, they always talk about it. I'm pretty sure I remember hearing Steve O'Neill. I think it was 99 yards.
Oh, it's
Like
98.
the whole length of the. Oh my goodness, it
It's
was so
98.
close.
You were right there. Yeah, 98.
Yeah, I'll take that as a win.
A 98-yard punt, and you realize that the punt's measured from the snap, from where the ball's put down, right? So
Yeah.
that's literally from 1 to 1. That's from your 1 yard line to the other 1 yard line. Is a 90.
That means that he caught it in the back of the. He didn't even have a long run up either.
No, he was. I'm sure he was being pressured. You know that they're gonna bring pressure when you're punting out of your end zone, and he had hit that one quick step, boom, and I'm sure it was the windiest.
How far did it roll?
I don't know. I didn't see it. I haven't seen the video of it. But what I'm thinking is it had to have gone. You know, you could punt it, 60 yards in the air. Okay, let's say it went 60 yards in the air. You realize that that's down around the 40, right? So that's still got 30-something yards to go. It had to bounce. It had to roll. There had to be wind involved, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, I'm actually watching it right now. Oh, that's kind of what happened. It was a muffed kick. So, all right, I just watched it. So the ball goes up, and yes, he's at the one. He kicks it from the back of the end zone. The guy goes to catch it around the 40 or so, but he's catching it kind of facing with his back towards the kicker who just kicked it. He's like looking away from us. The ball's coming over his right shoulder.
Oh.
It goes down, and it hits his foot, it looks like, and then just shoots out and then rolls for like 35 yards.
So this was a 60-yard punt that turned into a 98-yard punt.
Yeah, all thanks to the Denver Broncos of 1969.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay. So,
yeah, it definitely wasn't a clean 98 yards. It was it definitely rolled quite a bit.
Hey, it looks. I'm just telling you from what I saw, it looks great on the stat sheet. 98-yard punt. I mean, you realize that he can punt the next punt for no yards and be averaging 49 yards a kick.
Crap! It landed at the 35. That's when it hit the guy's hands. That's still a long
64.
punt.
That's 64 yards in the air.
Jesus.
Yeah, he had to try and catch it because if he didn't, it was going to go that far anyway. It's that probably. He's going to bounce and roll that far.
This guy's going to get talked to by the coach.
What are you doing?
It looks like he kicked it with his left foot and it just went and just shot out.
And once it touched him, he had to go get it, right? So.
Right. I mean, he was charging. He was running as fast as he could down the field because that would be an awful one to give up.
And I will tell you this as someone who played sprint man on a punt team in high school, that if my punter punted a punt 98 yards, I would be angry because that is a long ways to run and try and cover a punt. That's a whole football field you got to run on one play. I got to keep running because if that guy picks it up and breaks it loose, you know what I mean? I got to go. So
yeah,
I don't know.
So it also looks like in here that he didn't let it roll into the end zone, that he went ahead and grabbed it at the one, even though it was still going. And then he returned it for a whopping 2 yards.
Compounded his error.
Yeah, this would be oh my gosh, Bill Thompson is the returner. He definitely is on the wrong side of history right now.
And that's
my God.
That's your this day in Denver Broncos history. Well, it wasn't on this day, but anyway. Oh, that's funny.
It said actually it should have been shortened to about 75 yards because the refs didn't notice that it hit him. Because once it hits you, that's the distance of the punt.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But the refs didn't see it, so they added on the extra 23 yards for the roll.
Oh, that's funny. Hey,
that's great.
The record stands. That's all you can do.
Steve O'Neill will always be like, man, I got lucky.
So, quick update: the Charles Schwab Challenge, the PGA Tour. Colin Morikawa and Xander Schauffele share the lead at -15. Morikawa's on the 15th hole and Schauffele's on the 14th hole, so they're getting ready to finish that up. But it's tight. There are Justin Rose, Bryson DeChambeau, and Daniel Berger are all at minus 14. There are 5 guys right there within one shot of the lead. It could be a great finish if you want to watch on CBS. And the Dixie Vodka 400 has now completed a whopping 5 laps. And I know what you're saying.
Oh boy,
They're under a red flag right now, which it could be for many different reasons. It doesn't really say what the reason is, but it could be weather. But if they're under a red flag, that means they got to stop. So they've had five laps. The leaders: Joey Logano, Danny Hamlin second, Brad Keselowski third. If you want to watch
what
that,
an indoor NASCAR stadium.
gosh, it'd have to be huge.
It'd be loud.
Oh yeah, it would be. Yeah, it would be.
And it also, you might
the-
get a little
And
buzzed off the fumes.
Yeah, the fumes. The exhaust system would have to be fantastic.
Have a generally happier crowd. A real light mood here today in the stadium.
Oh my gosh, that combined with the beer. Oh,
Alcohol and fumes, man. It's a
Wow.
recipe for success.
there'd be nobody clapping by the end. I'll be passed out. So,
Well, that's how NASCAR is, anyways.
I guess so. So we want to
All
talk about.
passed out.
We want to talk real quick about one thing that we saw this week. The most interesting thing that we saw online this week, by the way, and that is that if you're interested, you can rent the Salem Kaiser Volcanoes Stadium, the baseball stadium, on
I don't understand.
on Airbnb for $1,000 a night.
Yeah.
And I didn't believe it when you said it, so I went and checked it out. And sure enough, on Airbnb, $1,000 a night, and it has 6 bedrooms, and you can sleep up to 16 people or something, and it has 4 bathrooms, and it comes the training facilities included, including the indoor batting cage. Hey, go have a good time, play baseball for $1,000. You can rent it for the
I
evening.
thought I was reading that sign wrong when I saw it. I was like, wait, hold on. Does that say rent us Airbnb? It's like, that
Yeah.
can't be what that means.
No,
Sure enough.
It's sure enough. That's exactly what
Come
it
rent
said.
the stadium.
I think it's a great idea, but I are more stadiums. I think minor league teams, if they've already canceled the season, why not? Right? You might get
I don't
people.
see why
to
they don't
come
have
rent it.
allow Boy Scouts to have a big sleepover in the Colts Stadium or something like that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Rent out these giant stadiums. They're not using them right now.
Right. And I wonder. So I wonder if that includes light usage, because that's one of those things that's expensive. But do I get to turn on the lights all night and play baseball all night if I want to? I mean,
Can I use the pitching machines?
right. I want full access. If we're going to do this, I want to have the run of the place. So, anyway, not that that's happening, but $1,000 might be a bit steep. But if you think about it, if you had a couple of umpires and 18 people to play baseball, 20 people, it could sleep 16, but you could split that up. That's about what, $70 a person, $60 a person.
We can start a little crowd fund and see if we can raise $1,000, and we can do a night there and
Yeah, do our show
and do a show up in the press box
Yeah, I think it's great.
or right from the dugout. I don't really care.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We'll mic up. We'll see if we can mic up and do it from the field.
But yeah, from home plate.
Right. Oh my gosh,
You sit in one.
the ball's
You sit in
coming.
one box. I'll sit in the other.
Oh my gosh, the ball's coming. It's coming right at
We'll
me.
set up the pitching machine to throw between us as we talk.
We'll see how close we can get. See, first one that gets actually hit, we can actually just move 1 inch closer every time the ball goes by, and we'll.
That's getting out there. I don't want to play chicken with the pitching machine.
Well, you never know, because you never know what that thing's gonna do, right?
I mean, you're just supposed to know. It's supposed to do exactly the
It
same thing every
It
time.
doesn't do it. I've faced many a pitching machine, and I will tell you what, there's nothing worse than getting hit by a pitching machine. And it does occasionally. The ball gets held weird. It throws a knuckleball because it comes through whatever way, but it's still
The
traveling.
seams or something.
It's still
Yeah.
traveling 85 miles an hour. You know what I mean? It's not.
And you just go, ow.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do but turn your shoulder in and hope it doesn't hurt.
Hope it doesn't break something.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, just want to let everybody know, if you're in the Salem Kaiser area, you can definitely, Portland, Vancouver area, you can rent $1,000 a night. It's right there. So again, we are streaming live on YouTube every weekend. We're on Twitter at Lamm Sports and Facebook under the Best Lamm Sports Show. You can email us lambsports@gmail.com. We want to thank our sponsors, The Range in Yakima, Boss Kitty Yarns, Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. This has been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Tree Media. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.